our great university, Professor Charles Okechukwu Esimone, Fellow Academy of Science, to please come up to do the opening remarks. Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir.
Our emeritus professor, a great father in our university, Professor Nnamdi, the Dean, Faculty of Agriculture, other heads of departments in the Faculty of Agriculture. I must also respectfully recognize Professor Atwanya, whom I understand is the in-law to the inaugural lecturer. I didn't know that before now. So you're welcome, Prof. Yes, I'm happy that he's here, despite the challenges that he has. I'm very impressed. I thank you very much. I want to also recognize other invited guests, other members of staff, senior colleagues, professors in the Faculty of Agriculture. It's my privilege, sincerely, to congratulate the 80th Inaugural Lecturer, Professor Ernest Igwe, a professor of a very crucial, important area in any human endeavor. You know, when we talk about stomach infrastructure, it cuts across age, it cuts across race, it cuts across gender. There is no person in any climb that will not be interested in what our dear Professor Ernest Igwe is working on, because food is paramount to human survival, to human development. But as you all know, inaugural lecture is an opportunity for the town to meet in a very unique way, where the gown is professing, is telling the town, and also by extension telling those in the gown what he has been doing, what he has spent his time, his talent, his treasure doing in an ivory tower to merit the special title of professor. You know, there are titles you can buy. There are titles you can get by virtue of one activity or the other. But professorial title is a chair that you earn. And it's not a title, it's not mandatory, it's not compulsory that everyone that passes through the ivory tower will come out with that title. And so if you have earned that title, the process of this inaugural lecture, you are publicly declaring, educating us, so to say, on your activities in this ivory tower that makes you proud and bold to tell people that you are a professor. Want to recognize Professor Ngodi in a special way. We thank you, Prof, for finding time to be here. Yes, Professor Ngodi was our teacher at UNN, and I'm so pleased that he found time to be here in person. Prof Ernest Igwe, no. Nuzopuriche. Yes, as I was saying, this is why we are here this afternoon, to hear from the expert, to be educated by this expert. And as I said is also crucial, it's also important because this professor is a professor in an area that everyone must have interest in. Everybody is interested in what goes in, what concerns the stomach. So we are pleased to gather here this afternoon. And it's also a show, a sign, that as a university, we are not relenting on our mandate. The mandate of a university to involve in teaching, to be involved in research, to be involved in community service. But an important nexus in all of this is how to communicate to the public, to the immediate public, and to the greater public, how the university is doing this, what the university is doing. And one very innovative way worldwide is through lectures of this nature, inaugural lectures, where we are better educated on what, who is doing and how they are doing it. We are pleased to be, those who are listening and hearing, listening from the experts, live. I also want to appreciate the inaugural lecturer committee. In a very special way, I want to thank the chairman of that committee, and I want to thank the members of that committee. And in particular, I want to thank the person that is holding brief for the chairman today. He's also like a chairman because he has been very active. Also Mike Ezenwa, for the innovation that has been brought to the inaugural lecture that we have been having. When it was not convenient for us to meet physically like this, they quickly met and made recommendations for virtual lectures, and we started virtual streaming. And you know that we started from, there was a time we were having inaugural lecture twice in a year, or sometimes once in a year. We moved to once every 2 months, and now we're having an inaugural lecture almost every week, and the queue is increasing. So I thank the committee for their temerity to handle this very seamlessly, so to say. And today, again, by the grace of God, we are privileged to have it live. And also, dual mode, so to say. There are people who are watching us online. There are also those who are here physical. So we are grateful. COVID has come. I don't want to say it has gone, but it has come, it has taught us very valuable lessons that we need to do things in a very smart way. And we are extending this digital way of propagating knowledge, not just in our inaugural lecture, we're also extending that in our various programs, both at the postgraduate level and the undergraduate level certificate programs, because that's the in thing. That's the innovative way of overcoming barriers that may, present themselves because of distance, because of epidemic or pandemic, as the case, because of cost also, as the case may be. So, ladies and gentlemen, our distinguished guests and audience, while we are appreciating the inaugural lecturer, we also want to appreciate you all for being part of this event, because without palpable audience, without an active audience, and the lecturer will be talking to the air. So I thank you all for being here, and I thank our online audience, and I want to assure you that the feedbacks we have been receiving from them helped us also to improve in this process. So we look forward to a very wonderful, dynamic lecture by this wonderful, you can see the size also, the size of somebody, the size of food. The size of somebody who is in food. But we are grateful. So we thank you and congratulate you in advance for being the 80th inaugural lecture of Nnamdi Azikiwe University, as we look forward to listening and learning. Thank you all, and God bless you.
Please, another round of applause for the Vice Chancellor. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Please permit me to So welcome, shall we, Professor Stan Udedi, former Dean of Biosciences. We welcome you, Professor Peter Nabude, former Dean, Faculty of Agric, and of course, SSAVC on Land Resources. Professor Makode Bierenu Nabugu, Director, Ekweme Center for Multidisciplinary Studies. We welcome you. Please, I want us to know that that great man, already recognized by the Vice Chancellor, Professor Gordy, is the first professor of food sciences in the whole of Africa. So we welcome you. We'll continue to celebrate you, sir. No. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, may I humbly invite the man that will present the inaugural lecturer. He is Professor James Ejikeme Obiebuna, to please come up for the citation on the inaugural lecturer.
Thank you, Chairman, and all others. All protocol observed. I want to appreciate you for choosing me to read the citation of my friend and brother, Professor Ernest Igwe. We started journey together in 1982. That's when we came and became friends. Reading food science and technology. We go to Ubahas together on holidays. And after we parted for some time, he went to Yola, I went to Federal Polytechnic in Keda. And in 2012, we came back to this place, the same department, the Faculty of Agriculture. And we are living under the same roof, but in different flats. So I know him very well. I know his father and his brothers and sisters, his mother. I know his children. I'm very much conversant with him. He's my very amiable friend. And I wish to say that this is the bio brief of the distinguished scholar, unionist, critic, discordant, teacher, and academic, fondly and variously called by friends and the admirers as Ernest Igwe. Omekannaya, onye na-akụrụ aka. And recently, he put on a name, onye nwaanyị egbu. So, he will answer us that question. He has 3 options to give you on that. You choose one. And he refused to tell us that he is Oyilinneya, because this is exactly how his mother is. So he took off after his mother. He is also an innovative scholar with radical ideas and a university administrator. Professor Ernest, the vocal and the altruistic critic, is in the recent time not an unknown name in his avowed subject area of study, the Nigerian food science and technology cycle. He is an objective, religious, and family man. Birth and early education. Born 62 years ago to the family of late Maze Bennett Ndoka. About Lime. That's the popular name in Omaya. And Oriako Philomena Amuche Igwe of Achala, Umuchu, Agwata local government area, of Anambra State. Ernest could not start his primary school as an Kwendu because of the unfortunate Nigerian Biafran War, Civil War. Residents at Umuahia, Abia State, the Biafran capital, the lad Ernest was busy learning how to take cover, a term used to ask everybody to lie flat on the ground to avoid detection by the enemy warplane. This trauma has still today continued to haunt him. Eventually, when the Biafran capital, Umuahia, fell to the hands of the federal forces, the boy Ernest now found himself in his hometown, Achala Umuju, where he started his kindergarten in 1969 and was in primary one when the Civil War ended in 1970. Ernest then relocated to Umuahia, his second home, where he was enrolled in Roreto Primary School that was later christened Urban School 3. In 1974, he passed common entrance from primary 5 in the then East Central State and started his secondary education at the Ibeku High School, Umuahia, where he obtained his West African School Certificate in 1979. From there, he proceeded to Federal Government College, Port Harcourt, where he obtained his high school certificate in 1981. He later joined his father in business, majoring mainly in trading and building materials, as well as building construction. However, the parents objected to this seriously and forced him out of it to continue with his education. Hence, he took and passed JAMB to University of Nigeria to study food science and technology, which is believed would launch him back to business, a dream he rejected later in life. We gained admission under the deanship of Professor Patrick Ngode in 1982. He was the Dean of Faculty of Agriculture then. He graduated with the BSc honors in 1987 and MSc in 1991 in Food Science and Technology, and also Master in Public Administration in 1993, all from University of Nigeria. He also acquired his PhD in Food Science and Technology in 2011 from Michael Opera University of Agriculture, Umudike, Abia State. His career. Professor Ernest Igwe, apart from teaching in boys' secondary school in Umuju in 1982 to rekindle his brain so as to be able to pass JAMB after being forced out to business by his parents, has in all his career been a lecturer and only in the university. He has taught in Federal University of Technology, Yola, and the Nnamdi Azikiwe University on full-time basis, while his visiting adjunct lecturing has taken him to University of Science and Technology, Wudil, Kano State, University of Uyo, Akwa Ibom State, and Chukwuemeka Odumegwu Ojukwu University, Ibariam, Anambra State. His research interest lies in the domain of food processing, microbiology, food chemistry, and toxicology, with a bias in animal products technology, bordering mainly on dairy and meat science and technology. Ernest has supervised over 20 dozens of students at the undergraduate and postgraduate level, as well as being involved in external examinations at BSc, MSc, and PhD levels in many universities in Nigeria. He has also been involved in professional external assessment, as well as leading National University Commission, UNUC, resource verification teams to postgraduate programs in 2 universities. Ernest is a member of several professional bodies, ranging from Nigerian Institute of Food Science and Technology, NIFS, Nutrition Society of Nigeria, as well as Nigerian Society of Animal Production. As an administrator, he has held several positions in several universities, both as head of department, committees, membership, and dean, Faculty of Agriculture, Nnamdi Azikiwe University, Awka, where his landmark achievements and records became an Olympian height to climb. Community services. At various times, he has offered his service to state government and his communities and the church. They range from being part of the professional team that he drafted the Anambra State government blueprint on agriculture, as well as being a member of Anambra State Agricultural Transformation and the Implementation Committee, among others. He also featured prominently in the drafting of Anambra State UNICEF-sponsored blueprint on nutrition. On the religious front, he is an avowed member and the later conference president of Society of St. Vincent de Paul. He has also served as member of church councils, chairman pastoral visit, and served in numerous committees of Roman Catholic Church, both as chairman and member. He has also served as chairman of several local organizing committees of university-based academic and professional bodies conferences, both academic and in society in general. He has authored monographs, textbooks, book chapters, several journals, and conference papers, both within and outside Nigeria. He has also attended conferences, too numerous to mention, both within and outside Nigeria. Ladies and gentlemen, irrespective of his achievements, Professor Ernest Igwe has a sense of humility and responsibility, knowing fully well that he is not only accountable to his immediate boss, society, and history, but also to his creator. He is a team player and above all, blends well with all manner of people. He is an amazing person and belongs to the group of people who refuse to settle for less than the best, as he will never compromise evil for good, no matter the circumstance. He is married to his heartthrob Obiageli, and the marriage is blessed with 2 children. Hobbies. Professor Ernest is a member of Scrabble Society of Nigeria and chess, where sometimes in the past he has won prizes. He also enjoys discussion, footballing, unionism, and social criticism. Ladies and gentlemen, I hereby present to you Professor Ernest Igwe, the August treasurer for today's inaugural lecture. Thank you.
don't know where to start. I'm overwhelmed. Mr. Chairman and Vice Chancellor, my academic father, the first professor of food science and technology in the continent, fellow Academy of Sciences, fellow Academy of Engineering, and who became a professor 1976 in Ife at the tender age of about 34 years. He has an intimidating, but I'm not here to sing him, so lest I spend all my time singing him. I also want to appreciate Professor Oyudo, the man whose record in Michael Okpara University has been very, very difficult to reach. So, my professor, I don't know, also have to thank you. And other professors like Professor Nabude and the university administrators here present, my estate chairman, Professor Stan Uded, in case I stand chance of being evicted, so I'm also thanking him. Remember, my dean, to avoid query. So I'm my head of department, because these people can do wonders. They may give me query. And please, so Nigerian ways, all protocols observed. I want to thank each and every one of us. While they are fixing, I wrote the lecture, so I believe I can start. The preamble. This inaugural lectures has been, as the Vice Chancellor has stated, where people, scholars, come and showcase what they have done and their ongoing works. But on a derisive and negative way, people castigate it as a church sermon or Jumat service, where people, after listening, you say, amen. The critics of this has forgotten the principle of the founders of inaugural lecture, being that it's for experts. And since it's for experts, it's believed like the sheep flock principle, what I call, when the sheep is moving, it's only one that is looking up. The rest are looking on the ground because they say they believe that leading them know where they are going. So and if you look at United Nations, FAO publications, and any reputable organization, after the experts have written, what do they say? The views expressed here are that of the writers and the experts and not that of the organization. So all that they are saying is that they have not really understood the concept, but there's a message they are given. And that message is, we can do better. And to that extent, I may recommend that maybe we'll have a second level committee that could peer review. That's why in journal writing, you have peer review to look at what is to be said. Thank you. Now, as has been stated, my lecture has been sectioned or divided into six. Call it 6 sections. First is the road to the ivory tower. How did I get here? The inaugural lecture proper. The ivory tower without an ivory. Researches on traditional foods. Appreciations and references. First, well, it has been stated in the citation. There was very high hope that I will be somewhere based on having come from a fairly above average family before the war. But what the Biafran war did to me, if I have my way, I will give them firing squad. But it's all come and gone. Because all hopes were truncated, learning how to take over when the enemy plane will come. But that is now history, and I lost interest in everything. And to make a long story short, after the war, well, not that I did it. I finished secondary school at the age of 17, notwithstanding the Civil War. But I did those things reluctantly, believing that the setback my father had undergone, I'm there to replace it. And I had no other thing to do but to replace those wealths lost. But along the line, the old man told me he's not interested in money. I should better go to school. So, and that was why I had to go. My brain was already rusty. Mucho boys to teach in 1982 so that to refresh the brain to pass JAMB. And the choice of food science and tech may shock you, because I said it will not make me come back to business to become a very rich man. But the day I saw Professor Ngodi Obanu, blessed memory, and others in an argument, I said this is where I should belong. But that was very late in my final year, because I was just studying in the university without sense of purpose and interest. Let's finish this thing, let me go and make my money. But that was a turning point in my life. And I struggled. How do I go to this poverty-stricken profession instead of going to the other way? But I'm happy that I chose what I have chosen. Now, then, when I finished my university, decided to do my MSc, due to some breaches, had to do a second master's concurrently so, and the two almost came out at the same time. I now left for Yola. I was employed in 1993 as a lecturer too, because of the publications I had. Actually, I was employed as assistant lecturer. On getting there, I protested, and they said, if you have this, you should be regraded and backdated as lecturer too. And I became a senior lecturer by 1999-2000. And then due to landmines, man-made hurdles, I could not progress to the professorial cadre later. However, the rest is now history. It's in the main work. So that's why I call early speedy rise, but later stunted growth in career due to man-made factors. So permit me to go to the actual reason why we are here today. Inbuilt quality control in traditional food processing, sociocultural factors, and food politics. Are they catalysts or inhibitors to traditional food processing industry in Nigeria? By the end of this lecture, your guess will be as good as mine. The lecture has been structured into 9 sections. First is the conceptual framework of my presentation. Second is why do I have interest in traditional foods? There must be a reason. Sociocultural food practice and food politics. The food processing industry, the traditional food system, food quality control and food safety, evaluation of inbuilt quality control in traditional food processing in Nigeria, sociocultural food factors affecting food quality and safety in Nigeria, and food politics. Then food politics, conclusions, and recommendations. Look at the conceptual framework. The traditional food industry in Nigeria, of course, consumes the Nigerian traditional foods, traditional food plants, and animals. I would explain later. Then, what are the inbuilt quality controls what is the politics about them? What are the sociocultural factors, as you will see there? Well, for those of us who may not understand, inbuilt quality control are those processes and measures taken to ensure that the food comes out in safe and wholesome and acceptable form. While the food politics, of course, politics has so many definitions, both by the fathers of the church, Aquinas, David Hastings, Okudeba Nole, and a lot of it. But the centrality of politics is about using power to influence. Power and influence. We'll get to it later. Then, of course, social-cultural food practices. I was so, like in some communities, when they want to serve you drink, they'll carry the whole thing and test before bringing. And not mindful of what could happen. So this I was observing as a kid and was so sad about them. So with that, the inbuilt quality control, what are the natural inbuilt quality control? Like a paper I wrote with Professor Ngodi this year, we try to study the evolution of food. We try to look at scientific and technological principles of Igbo food processing vis-a-vis the modern. And we came to the conclusion they are the same. The only difference is the sophistication, the economics, and the fineness. Heating is heating, whether you're using charcoal, microwave, or whatever. So our forefathers has been doing this thing. That is why I'm an avowed critic of that word, Mongo Park, Discover River Niger, where my great-grandparents were there. Eating of course, the great-grandparents of Professor Ngodi from Obaru, using it to cook onubu. And then one small boy came one day, they say he discovered River Niger. It's a lie, to say the least. Then, so we said, then the neo-colonial mentality and the variegated politics involved, I will come to it. Some leads to low acceptability, unsafe healthy practices, and when there's compliance or non-compliance will lead to safe, high acceptability, increased production, higher revenue, and then that one, if there's a high inbuilt, it will lead to being a catalyst in the food industry. That's what all this diagram, in a nutshell, is telling us. Then, when you get to the aspect of sociocultural factors, let's leave it because we'll get back to that place. The next thing is, why am I interested in traditional foods generally and other things? First and foremost, of course, it was the major exchange earner for Nigeria before the advent of oil boom. And I've been always annoyed when I see what is happening. And it is a renewable resource, unlike crude oil. Also, there's a research grant I got in 1994 that it has a monograph which I concluded that some of these traditional foods will remain a sword of Damocles over the consumers in Nigeria because of the way we handle our quality. Imagine somebody who goes to the market. How do we weigh the meat? We do it like this. How do we know the flavor? We'll bring it to the nose. But relax, we are coming to that. Other reasons is when I had the privilege of being the LOC chairman of my professional body to the national conference, I pleaded and insisted and they accepted that it should be based on traditional food processing, processes, and challenges. What's happening? Yes. So then other reasons, let's move to the food processing industry. What the food processing industries have decided to handle food. In the past, we used to define food as anything other than drug that we consume, that nourish the body, and must contain some nutrients. But due to the presence of nutraceuticals these days, everybody will claim, if you take pawpaw leaf, if you take with this, it cures this. If you take food faddism, we call it food faddism, because some of these things have not been scientifically acclaimed. Ofonya say, kai kai wo guafo. Start in the morning, you will be all right. There's nothing people cannot say. And we are yet to validate and ascertain some of these claims and counter claims. So for now, we see food as edible substances that could go through the mouth or through the IV or through some other methods. When you give somebody drip and there's glucose, he's eating. And so that's the way we now look at food. Why the traditional food system involves everything about food, traditional foods. One may ask, what is even traditional food? These are those local foods in the environment. Because as our last paper said, that man must, do we eat to live or do we live to eat? Do we eat to live or live to eat? Your answer is okay for you. But the truth remains, whatever environment you find yourself, you try to exploit that environment so as to make good out of it. There's a paper we're writing now on the evolution of food processing from the hunter-gatherer to the Stone Age, the Paleolithic, the archaeologists here will bring me out, Paleolithic period, Mesolithic, Neolithic, then the Bronze Age and scientific and artificial intelligence period. So when we look at the whole thing, that is why we say the processing and preservation. Simply put, food science and technology is nothing but processing and preservation. And the functions are clear, crystal clear. To increase organoleptic acceptability, that is sensory, you can do it with 5 sense organs. Makanasi, Anyarisia, Ono Emegene, Erie. Then, so you look at it, then food processing and preservation, other functions, they have health functions. Traditional foods are believed to have health function. You remember in the north, they will tell you if you have mura, yes, kata, as jeka kaza, go and eat kazan nama. Nama means meat. Forget that we call it cattle here. Jeka kazan nama. Go and eat hot pepper soup of chicken. It will open your nostrils. Whereas the Akwa Ibom, I read one day, said, dog meat for young girls will make your breast more pointed. These are all claims, faddism claims that are yet to be substantiated. And then, so the traditional foods are inherited, invented, and repeated, transmitted through generations of tradition with little or no modification. We have always done it that way. Has been the mantra for traditional food processing. However, what you may call traditional foods may be a borrowed construct, like through cross-cultural fertilization of ideas and travels. Most of us now go, when you go, Kunu Zaki that we are taking here now, Kunu means liquid food, Zaki is sweet. This Kunu Zaki we are taking now is taken from the north. Okay, look at Akpu. When did cassava come to Nigeria? Cassava barely 100 years ago, or 20, 30 years ago. It's indigenous to Ceylon, Central America, Brazil. But now, is it not our traditional food? We have adopted and adapted. So there's a danger of loss of traditional food because of the universality. People now want to have traditional food, you get it and domesticate it. Of course, that's the origin of domestication of animals and plants. Like in toxicology, we do self-experimentation. Okay, before the animal assay business started. Okay, let's, for want of time, I tried to classify some of the Nigerian foods based on classification based on processing or type. where I have meat and meat products. Their origin is supposed to be all parts of Nigeria. He will call it Anu. Hausas call it Nama. Nama they mention is not cattle. Nama means meat. Nama and Shanu, cow meat. Nama and Kaza, chicken meat. Nama Aquia. Nama and Rogo, sheep. All those things, that's the meaning of Nama. But the Igbo man has adopted and adapted in their own way. Similarly, we have all other ones. Please permit me to leave them. People can read them for want of time and space. Then, traditional food plants and animals. However, I hasten to add, we have over 250 ethnic groups in Nigeria. Assuming we have 10 per ethnic group, that means we'll be having our resource base in traditional foods, not oil now, will be over 2,500. To be over 25,000 traditional foods. And you can bet me how that will change the history, the economy of Nigeria. Traditional food processing. Well, the technology evolved out of necessity of making maximum use of local food resources, utilizing available artifacts and expertise. And it's, of course, I've said it's carried down through generations of tradition. And it's also a means of harnessing. But culture is related to food. What we eat, how we eat it, the way it's prepared is manifest of your type. Look at Ofe Onugbu. From Idemili cooks Ofe Onugbu. You know the way it could be. If you eat the one from Awka, is the permission to the visit. You know how, I don't know. Then, if you eat the one from other places, you will see the taste of each type of traditional food. So it's related to culture. Therefore, people of all cultures proscribe and prescribe certain foods at certain times for the benefit of their environment. Because there's a time you will be sick. I say, don't eat akoyibo. Don't eat this. Some are unfounded. Some are mythical without scientific base. Some are correct. But the problem is we scientists have failed in a way, in quote, having not been able to investigate. Rather, we're interested in studying chocolate. We're interested in studying food system. I want to tell you, whenever I go for external examination, and you say you are studying okwa, Idewrem African breadfruit, I cancel it. I say you must write okwa first. African breadfruit in brackets. If you don't say here I am, nobody will know where you are. Then, traditional, I've reported it, that what we do today is akin to what Pastor Adebo in 1946 said, there's nothing new. We're only repeating or modifying the past. There's nothing we are inventing new except modifications, little invention. Because if you take, for example, the Mendelian issue, when Morgan in 1905 found the genetic method of inheritance, I was happy, only to find out that Mendel had done it 1865. And that's why we are crediting it to Mendel and not Morgan. So modern scientific processing has largely reinvented the wheel. At its best, contemporary processes have, in the main, instituted better controls and economics, that is reducing the drudgery, reducing the weight problem. And there may be fineness or finesse, as you may call it. Traditional food processing, I've discussed it. Then we tried, this I also got from my organ, in that our paper, juxtaposition of modern unit operations, traditional technologies, and scientific principles of traditional processing of Igbo foods. Because we are trying to portray the Igbo culture. our own food, we are so rich in all these things. And sadly, is it Professor Akinteriwa, the DG of, former DG of National Institute of National Affairs? I was listening to the other day, he said, the census they had last time, Igbos were 30 million. The North was about 29. In 1931, the West was about 28. And Ruben Abati was telling him, Igbos suffered during the genocide of the Civil War. That may have been why they were brought down. But we know it's lie. But what do? We have to accept. Then let's move to food quality control and food safety. Quality control. All those processes will pass through to ensure that the food is acceptable in a wholesome manner. And 4 measures of quality, we have to use the sensorial measure, where you measure the texture, the flavor, the aroma, and the rest. The second one is convenience. The convenience, because traditional foods have several functions. Convenience is there. Then safety, which is measured by presence or absence of hazardous material. And if you look at it, that may be why I've been worried. Having worked on over 50 traditional foods, I felt, what are the quality controls in this? Are we really digging our graves with our teeth? Because that was a lecture I delivered when I was the dean of Faculty of Agriculture. I said, digging graves with our teeth. That every day, based on our choice of food, we either dig our graves with our teeth or the level of digging. So I was worried. If I check all the process parameters, there's in-process contamination in some, there's post-process contamination in some, but we can do better. We can do better. That was why when I wanted to do my PhD, I chose to work on Kindrimu, a fermented milk product. Because I and looked at yogurt, but that's the discussion later today. So, and how do we, it is important to inform us that quality does not necessarily mean the best. Because if I'm to produce pure water, that's why we call it table water. If I'm to produce pure water, it will cost you 100,000 to buy a sachet. If we know what to call pure water. So, quality is not necessarily the best. It's what is acceptable within consumer tolerance. The limit you, the consumer, cannot go below. So that is what we call quality. So for every company decides the level they can come down low. Because don't forget, profit is their motive. Health is the second consideration. And then in competition. That's why probably we have to name our bosses how to name this our water, table water. Because it's obviously not pure water. In fact, I remember in 1997 conference in Uyo, in IFT, somebody was calling it pure cholera. By then, the level of controls were not much. I'm not scaring you. NAFDAC is stepping up some levels now. So, in quality control, we have to adopt several measures now to ensure as inbuilt. And my worry is that those inbuilt, are they really inbuilt in our own traditional foods? The answer will be understood as we proceed. Now, we adopt what we call HACCP, HACCP, Hazard Analysis and Critical Control Points, because we feel it will be bad to go and be recalling food. So, a proactive measure which at every stage in your quality, a sampling point for quality control, because in quality control, we have what we call sampling points. What measures do I sample to assess, to measure, to evaluate from raw material. At this point, if it's not going well, you go back. So it's a proactive measure adopted by WHO and FAO. We have also what we call GMP, good manufacturing. It requires appropriate designs and facilities of processing control of operations, maintenance and sanitation, personal hygiene, appropriate transportation of goods and services, nutritional labeling, and staff training and retraining. Let me mention a little on this nutritional labeling, because you find out that the way you label, most of them are misleading. Like, go to the north, gala. This gala we eat. They will tell you this is a halal. This is a haram. Haram means forbidden. That is the origin of Boko Haram, forbidding the English way. Halal means acceptable. So you now find out that in the course, handling meat, processing of meat, which is nothing to write home in Anambra, but I will come to it later. In processing of meat, if only the Islamic culture believes that the animal has a spirit that must be prayed for before you slaughter it. So if you don't do that prayer of kaifa halal alhamdulillah, that means you have not prayed for it, so it is a haram. If you pray for that, it becomes a halal, which means halal means acceptable. So you now find out these are the things in the GMP. Then we also have standard operating procedure. It's a step-by-step measure that has been designed to ensure that each step try to eliminate certain things and help get a good product. The question will always remain, have we applied this in our traditional foods? Let's wait for the answer. Evaluation of inbuilt quality control in traditional food processing in Nigeria. I've stated this before. Are there inbuilt level of quality control during processing? How substantial are they? If they are substantial, what's the level of compliance? If they are not, what's the level of compliance? Because let us assume you're boiling meat, and as you're boiling, you didn't boil it to such temperature. Those of us in food processing, if we are canning a food, and our target organism is Clostridium botulinum, and unless you kill that botulinum, it's assumed you have not started. That's why at times you get all this tomato, all this milk with convoluted cans, because you were not able to pasteurize properly. 212 Fahrenheit, but at a certain temperature. The type of processing I give to amaranthus, green vegetable, that you use organic fertilizer, where somebody's toilet was being used, cannot be the same in the one you use ordinary inorganic fertilizer, because the other one is laden with microorganisms. But that is not what you are here for. So I have asked here, if there is substantial inbuilt, like let's look at that in Drimu, which I don't think anybody has done much work than me in that area in this country. You'll find out that the method of processing, the lactic acid bacteria, creates a kind of acidic environment for itself, which in food microbiology, that's what we call concept of spoilage association, which is a kind of Darwinism, selecting the organism that can now thrive at that pH level. You see, it is self-control. Unlike kununzaki, you boil it. After that boiling, you now use your hand in everything, filter at the end. Go and sell. And most of these sellers, I'm not trying to create bad market for people. And most of these sellers will only get kankara, that is ice block, put inside. After that, they'll go and sell. But let us assume refrigeration would have been best. to freeze him. But who has that patience in Nigeria? Who has that money to get to that level? So you find out that the inbuilt level shows how good and time. How one can go. Then, okay, let me rush, please. So on my own, a sort of innovation, I try to develop questions that must be answered to know how good quality control of a food substance is. If you look at Table 4 provides a set of general questions and answers designed to provide insights on the march of progress of these considerations. First question, do we have any formal traditional food quality specification in Nigeria? The answer is a categorical no. Do processed traditional foods in Nigeria have consistent product uniformity? Is a partial no. Because if your wife cooks, any day you can say, you shall no fake. Madam, pardon me. Are there inbuilt quality control during processing of Nigerian traditional foods? Yes. Are these inbuilt quality control of processed Nigerian traditional foods sufficient to ensure consumer safety? Not in all circumstances. Have the Nigerian Food Regulatory Agency done enough to ensure compliance to this? Very little, if any, at all. They have failed us. How safe are these traditional foods for human consumption? Not quite safe. What level of refinements or otherwise are required to ensure improved traditional food acceptability? Very, very much. Are the levels of inbuilt quality control checks catalyst or inhibitor to the growth of traditional food industry in Nigeria? Not sufficient. Well, I tried on a case-by-case basis. I grouped arbitrarily the traditional foods in Nigeria into traditional food beverage, meat and meat products, milk and dairy, fish, porridges, flours and grits, snacks, soups, condiments, boiled or roasted roots and tubers. There are many, and I've given their types. Please let me rush on before Collins arrest me. In addition, the following statements given hereunder provide basis of assessment of adequacy or otherwise of inbuilt quality control measures in the processing of the traditional foods identified. How do you know that this food I have processed is all right or not? There are certain things. If a food is able to detoxify naturally occurring toxicants, there are naturally occurring toxicants, alkaloids, hemagglutinin, cyanogenic glucosides, saponins. There are many of them. If they are able to handle them better, then you know it has done well. Ability to handle or prevent microbial contamination, higher propensity to food nutrient destruction if after processing, the level of boiling is much to handle it, then you know it is okay. Exposure levels to in-process contamination, like UNIZIK, by the time you are finishing it, you have already contaminated it again. Exposure levels to post-process contamination, this one can happen even in exotic foods. Inbuilt quality control measures, expected shelf life of the product. It's like yogurt, I don't know. I've been researching with fermented milk for over 30 years now. This is my 31 years in the university system. I've been researching on it. And you find them 3 years, 1 year, 6 months, all this. And of course, they cannot be organic. At best, what's the origin of fermented food? Fermented milk. The normal forgot to throw it away in the Far East. And the next day, he said, okay, let me test this. He tested it and said, oh, it sounds well. It tastes well. That's the origin. That was how fermented milk products came about. So the shelf life. And people tell you it lasts 6 months. That's why I like processing the one I take. And it's a very simple technology, which I teach every student that passes through me. Maintenance of expected organoleptic quality factors. Yes, in 1972, the WHO stated, whatever you catch in the laboratory must be corroborated sensorial, that's organoleptic, based using your organs. There's a 1972 WHO prescription on that. Okay. I try to handle all different groups, but those who are interested in them, 6 to 12 tables, they are inside that my publication. Later on, you take time to go through them. Collins, please permit me. Now, let's look at sociocultural food practices. This one, actually, I've gotten a grant, and I've worked on this in 1994. You know, my name is Onyenwanye Eburo. And my wife will always tell me, Onyenwanye Eburo, okay, boy. So I'm going to let her you answer for me. So sociocultural food practices affecting, I have a monograph on this, published by Union of African and Population Studies. And you see, the annoying aspects from my findings said jam has no authority in African stomach. That is one of, then everybody claims they have food safety knowledge. But my findings show that all these mobile food vendors and cafeterias, it's nothing to write about. Let me, Collins, please. Then the politics is where I want to dwell more. Politics of growth of Nigerian traditional foods. Well, this is a fact. There are 4 areas. In 1962 National Development Plan, Middle Belt alone was supposed to feed the rest of Africa. But today we're importing foods. And you'll find out that there are, and Nigeria, India, and Brazil were the 3 nations expected to join the League of Developed Countries. You know where India is today? Where Brazil is today? Ours is 1 step forward, 2 steps backward. Is it 5? Okay. So I've crystallized the political influence on the growth of the traditional food industries into 4. There's conspiratorial politics of suppression of growth of traditional foods by the neo-colonial masters. They don't want our traditional foods to grow. I remember my teachers, not Prof Ngodi, in Leeds University, wanted to do a research on how to extract gliadin and glutenin that gives you the gluten that makes the bread to rise, and now incorporate into our own local starches. The supervisor in Leeds was asking him, so what do you expect us to do with our wheat? Even when 1984, malted barley was banned. And what advantage has barley? Because the diastatic power, that's the alpha and beta amylases, has higher potential, which can now be used to saccharify the fermentable sugars. It's much more inherent there than in our own. And what we needed to do, when these things were banned, can get our maize. The only problem with maize is the jam. And there's an entoliter to dejam the maize. And then we can now buy the diastase, the alpha and beta amylase. What did the white man do? They increased the price of enzymes. It is skewed that health professionals like pharmacists has made it such that they must hate the NAFDAC group. And then pharmacy is 5 years, food science is 5 years, microbiology, biochemistry, and chemistry. But when you go there, you start at a very lower starting point. And you find out that food aspect is relegated to the background. The only thing you can see in NAFDAC, traditional food, is NAFDAC approved. That's the highest thing, just to satisfy some people. And if you bribe them, they will give you NAFDAC approved without any good, thorough due diligence investigation. And just like somebody that read medicine He starts on level 12 or 13, and another person who has suffered will start on level 8. So this is killing it. Okay, let's forget at that level. Gets to the industry, to the ministries, MDAs, ministry, department, and agencies. I'm a member, not was, of the Anambra State Nutrition Committee under the UNICEF. You find them, health is fighting with agric. Fighting with information, say we inform, it should be with us. Education, say we teach, it should be with us. Agric, say we produce, it should be with us. And at the end, where is it? Where is all this in domicile now? Ministry of Economic Planning and Development, nationwide. They say, let's put it there because they are the one who release the money from the budget and they are the one who controls it. Rivalry, professional rivalry and interministerial rivalry has almost killed our development. Then, non-serious policy direction by Nigerian leaders. Look at now, we get our fruits from friend and boss, Dr. Iwara from Ogidi, told me when he was with the minister, they bought all these things and gave to all the local governments. Our own local governments left their own. The seedling they were given, it grew in the local government headquarters. Whereas, that is the thing, as a member of the UNICEF something, when these donor agencies bring them, the thing now, they will say there's now to distribute the drugs and go down, delay and expire. These are the things we are suffering. Look at Mexico. Malaysia, we were told. 3 weeks ago, I was watching the television. We were told that Nigeria imported 3 billion naira worth of palm oil this year. Yes, Professor Ezedima of blessed memory will tell us that they have a better agricultural weather that supports it. But even at that, where are we? What are we doing? So if you look at it, you see, let me make an excerpt of what somebody said to tell you that the white man know what they are doing. One, well, you see, Lord Macaulay in 1835 said, I have traveled across the length and breadth of Africa, and I have not seen one person who is a beggar, who is a thief. Such wealth I have seen in this country, such high moral values, people of such caliber, that I do not think we will ever conquer this country unless we break the very backbone of this nation, which is her spiritual and cultural heritage. And therefore, I propose that we replace her old and ancient education system, her culture. For if the Africans think that all that is foreign and English is good and greater than their own, they will lose their self-esteem, their native culture, and they will become what we want them. We want of them, a truly dominated nation. This is what Lord Macaulay, it's just like the dual mandate of Lord Salisbury, who says that if he's hoisting the flags, you think I'm interested. And in 1953, Lord Haley was asked to do a research, and his report was that we have succeeded in establishing the most difficult administrative complex in the world, in a place called Nigeria. So how do you move? It's a problem. Please permit me, Collins and DVC. This is a recent man, the former president of France, said, we bled Africa for 4.5 centuries. We looted their raw materials. Then we told lies that Africans are good for nothing. In the name of religion, we destroyed their culture. And after being made rich at their expenses, we now steal their brains through miseducation and propaganda to prevent them from enacting black retribution against us. So, and the funniest thing is that, let me move on because this man is against me now. Sorry. What's the name? Then I think I've discussed this. Then you can also look at the turnaround maintenance, like in the oil and gas. Every year, billions are budgeted for turnaround, and it will never work. Go to the silos. I remember Professor Ngodi telling us, was it 1983 or 84, that our strategic national grain reserve has been put at 200,000. Meanwhile, India was 2 million. And every year we budget to restock them. What has happened to the one who kept there? So you see the leadership. Just like our Nobel laureate, Chinua Achebe said, the trouble with Nigeria is leadership. Please, I want to go to the part of conclusion. So, on this number 2, the Nigerian government and her leaders should do something better. I suggest that we should divide this NAFDAC into 2. We needed a ministerial agency for our own traditional foods if we want it to develop. And that is the only future for us to move on. And then the inter-rivalry about the professional rivalry must be put to a stop. And universities like us with my able VC, please set up for us Center for Traditional Food Studies. So that will help us. I'm sorry, I'm begging you. Then the inbuilt traditional foods are there. I would fail if I don't mention the little about ivory tower without an ivory. Please, in 1982, when I gained admission, when I recall how a university used to be, chicken, quarter, Wednesdays and Sundays at 50 kobo. Tuesdays and Thursdays, we eat goat meat at 50 kobo. And when you come back in the morning, your rooms have been swept, and they dress your bed and put extra bed sheet. Then to see a lecturer. And then the lecturer, let's stop blaming others. You will see, Prof, believe me, by then our lecturers will tell us, please, I must cover this syllabus because I said the question before starting. You must set the question before starting the semester. So he has set it and it has been moderated. There was mentorship and there was obedience. Now, an assistant lecturer will want to tell you, who do you think you are? The other person will tell you this and that. But there was, to talk to a professor was like seeing an Obama. Then, but let me tell you a sad experience I had when I came here. First culture shock. A student called me that if my office is free, the students want to have meeting and they don't have a place. So, sir, finally, this is a life story. Finally, and myself was involved with Professor Biebuna. You can bear me out. So, finally, sir, let me make this aspect. How do we restore the ivory? Because it's the ivory that makes the ivory tower thick. If ivory becomes ordinary building, you can get in main market. How do we restore it? The researches I conduct these days, one will hardly have faith in the results. Commercial businessmen now are now there. I had the shock of somebody giving me the proximate composition of garden egg, protein 49%. And assuming I said, okay, give to somebody to read for me, I'm too busy. That thing would have been be there. I had to cancel the entire thing and send that lady to another lab. And I know if we have about 104 programs or more in this university, which about 30% should be science-based. Every year, about 1,000 students graduate, or 2,000, 3,000 in our distance. And I have conducted a research, informal. Averagely, they spend about, those of us in hardcore sciences, spend nothing less than 50, 60,000. Which if you multiply it, if over the years, if over the years, we'll be setting aside 20% of this. Because the damage now is that when I did my research as an undergraduate at UNN, chemistry classes were always there, microbiology, food science is one of the greatest disciplines across all disciplines. We did this thing, and I know that our students will now send out their laboratory outside. They don't even know how to do it again because they have sold out their capability to somebody who you are not sure what is giving you is good results. I'm suggesting here, if a strong-willed committee could be set up, not the type that are based on mafia or who want to hold us hostage, so that if the university can can try their best, 10% or 20% of these things every year, we domesticate our researches here. One, we'll build our capacity, the students' capacity will be built, and this will be okay. I find it difficult to publish these days. If I had the opportunity of giving you what I have, Collins, if I have the opportunity of bringing out my researches, I find it difficult to publish over 100 theses now, because I don't have faith in what has been done. Where is the faith? And most of the things they write in the journals, so sorry to say, many of them are fake, because no confidence. Even what the trader is selling you, the chemical is selling to you, you see them carrying the microbial plates with their hand. And who tells you that what you are doing is still good? So I advocate for such a thing. Please and please, I want to finally, please, to appreciate those who have assisted me, the VC and the committee, even though they want to stop me, giving me the opportunity to talk. And I hope I've not disappointed you much. Of course, my academic God, not supreme God though, my academic God, Professor Ngodi, who has produced dozens, tens of dozens of professors. He taught those who taught me. And if I has produced several professors, so you know the legion he has produced. Then, please appreciate this man. Appreciate him. Appreciate him. And Professor, how you do? My younger brother that is here, I can stand up, Dr. Igwe. He's a lecturer in College of Veterinary Medicine, Michael. He was briefing me the wonders you did at university. And the rest, please, I'm grateful. Bear in mind that I have not delivered up to 30% of what I have for you. But what do? I rest my case. But I'm not a learned man, no. The papers distributed to you, I will be so happy that from here, because I want to thank the VC for one thing. I went for PhD, Masters, PGD, MPhil, resource verification just recently. I called you from there. And Bowen University told me what I saw there. But after talking to everybody, he said, except that man in Nnamdi Azikiwe University. Especially in digital. But I learned so many things there that we have not started yet. Yet he was rating you. If you give me the chance, we'll discuss it. Because that Vice Chancellor, I've invited him. He will be here by the grace of God during Professor Nnabude's. Please, Professor Nnabude, stand up, stand up, stand up, stand up. Valedictorian, which will be taking place June 27 here. Please, we are expecting him. Then my friends from Chukwuemeka Odumegu University, which I claim to be the father of that department, because I started it and nurtured it to the present point. And my colleagues here, I thank you. But most importantly, this woman here. The day I asked people, so there are three answers we agreed. One. Two. On a miss something. On a miss something. Ogologondo. So, now when you want to work, I am ready. Well, thank you. So, I thank you again. And please, due to the shortness of time, we have a lot to satisfy people here, but I don't know how they have, who meet and meet very well. Thank you, thank you, and thank you.
Please, may we rise to appreciate our inaugural lecturer. Round of applause. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Thank you, please.
Please, I also want to appreciate those who have who also financially. J-School, oil, and gas. He has tried his own best. The members of my faculty, they've tried. So many individuals, anonymous, have tried. And I will be grateful if VC will grant me the opportunity. There's a way we can remodel this. It will not be a burden on the presenter. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please, another round of applause for him. May we be seated, please. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. At least, if not for any other thing, I'm going home with the fact that it is not everything that has quality is the best. I heard that, and I heard it very well. And then the call for the establishment of the Center for the Study of Igbo traditional food and others. Very important that I can see the VC nodding to that. Thank you. Thank you. Please permit me, Mr. Chairman and the Vice Chancellor, to welcome my own immediate past Dean, Professor UC Ngogugu. I salute you. And while the inaugural lecturer was, speaking, his better half came in. The woman he described as the best. She is Mrs. Obiageli Christiana Igwe. So we welcome you. You are the professor's professor. So we salute you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Please, may I invite the chairman of the inaugural lecture committee, ably represented by a member of the same committee, Professor Mike Ezenwa, to please come up to direct us on the decoration processes. The Prof.
Thank you very much, the University Orator. And Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, there was a comment the inaugural lecturer made. I want to briefly, that comment, similar. I went for a verification exercise, University of Benin. And during introduction, the Vice Chancellor made a special comment about you. He said official. He said he's also a pharmacist. So we are proud of you. And when people make such comments independently, it speaks volume. So thank you very much, sir. On this note, permit me to invite the Vice Chancellor to please come and decorate the 30th, 80th. Because I'm the 30th, you know. I'm the 30th, so this is the 80th. So I'm older than you by 50. To decorate the 80th inaugural lecturer of Nnamdi Azikiwe University, Professor Igwe. Please. Please come. Yes, along with your wife.
Thank you very much. Yes. Yes. You know, this is a very precious medal, a medallion that we're using to decorate you today. Professor Ernest Igwe, the 80th inaugural lecturer of our great university, Nnamdi Azikiwe University. I want to sincerely thank you for educating us and to assure you again publicly that some of the issues and questions that you've raised she's working on traditional food processing, the history and everything. That's her research. Yes, I didn't quite remember. So when I immediately came in here and I saw that, yes, I remember that this is the topic, so I sent for her. But hopefully she might join us because she has to have interactions also with you. She's been here for about 6 or 7 months now, and I think she has just about two or 3 months to round up. But that's her area of research. She's a professor in sociology, but work is on studying indigenous food and the history behind it, and a lot of socio-cultural issues relating to that. She came to Nigeria because she has so much admired the diversity of food quality and local food in Nigeria, and that has not been publicized. So she's doing a lot of work, and I believe that there's going to be further interaction between you and Professor Gillian to further explore this. She has written lots and lots of articles, and she's trying to bring in more and more collaboration in this aspect. I imagine she's actually from Guyana, was an American, but she will always tell you that she's not American, she's Guyana, she's an American. So she will explore further some of the things you've said. And about the lab and central lab for research, we already have a center of excellence that covers biomedical and agriculture and engineering. So the issue about equipmentation for this lab, I'm assuring you that in a couple of months, we'll be having some of them, and the students will not need to go out to do this kind of research. So on behalf of the Senate of our great university, on behalf of our congregation, and on behalf of my employers, the council, it's my honor and privilege to decorate the 80th inaugural lecturer of our great university, Professor Ernest Igwe. Congratulations.
We say congratulations to Professor Ernest Igwe. We congratulate you. Congratulations. Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, the Dean of the Faculty of Agriculture here present, Professor Nkiru Melodo, all professors here present, heads of departments, deans, directors. I want to call on one of us, a great scholar, Thank you very much. Please, I want to call on one of us, a great scholar, ever resourceful and viable, a member of the inaugural lecture committee of this our great institution, the University of the Moment and the University of all time, to do the vote of thanks. Ladies and gentlemen, may I invite Professor Cordelia Ebenebe to do the vote of thanks.
The Vice Chancellor, sir, permit me to stand on an already established protocol. I'm so happy today. You know, this is our first outing, Faculty of Agriculture. Doing the inaugural lecture for the first time, and I think the lecturer has done us proud. Congratulations once again. I want to thank our Vice Chancellor. I want to thank our chairman, who is unavoidably absent. That's the chairman of the inaugural lecture committee. I want to thank all the committee members. And then I now come to the big wigs in the academic circle. I want to thank Professor Ngodi, right? Ngodi. Wow, good to hear that you're the first professor of food nutrition, food science, food engineering in the whole of Africa. That's a wonder. And to honor us in this great occasion, I say thank you. And then my big brother, Professor Onyide. You know, anytime I meet him, I always say, oh, Okija, because it will remind him that I'm from Okija, even though married to Nibo, and they now hardly know that I'm from Okija, because nobody ever see or hear me speaking Okija. But I want to thank you, sir, for being here. Yes, thank you. All the professors here present, and of course our first dean, who will be the valedictorian very soon. Thank you, sir, for being here. Thank you, Professor Atuanya. Thank you. Wow, thank you for being here. I want to say a big thank you to all the professors present, all the heads of departments, all our faculty members, all the invitees that came for these peoples. I'm sure that Professor Igwe is so gladdened today, most especially because he kept hammering on Professor Ngodi and Professor Onido being here. Every time we talk over the phone, he will mention that if these two people are here and they listen to him, oh, that they will make his day. And I'm sure you made his day today. So thank you for being here. Thanks to everyone. Thanks. Maybe I wouldn't mention everybody by name. Oh, the media. And of course, the university orator. Thank you. In fact, I know you are going to be the university orator. Why? Anytime I hear you read citation of people, I say, wow, this is a wonder. You invest in when mad. Thank you so much, sir. Thanks to every one of us. Thanks for making Faculty of Ag. Oh, my dean. Oh, before I receive query. Serious query. Sorry. Sorry, please. Thank you for being here. Thank you. Thanks to every one of us. It's been a great day for us. And most especially for those of us in Faculty of Agri. It's been a great day. Thank you for making us proud. Thank you for taking the first step. And so we are fully. And by the way, I'm number 2 from Faculty of Agri to do inaugural lecture. And we follow from there. Thank you to everyone. As we go for what he says, he has more than plenty. Let me add more than plenty for every one of us. That means I came with my stomach empty. And so it's going to be loaded this afternoon before I go. Thanks to every one of us. God bless us all.
Thank you very much. Thank you, our dear Professor Cordelia Ebenebe. Mr. Chairman, sir, and the Vice Chancellor, distinguished ladies